Hello everyone, and welcome to the navigation video for Political Science 1513.W1, U.S. Federal Government for the summer semester of 2018. In this video, I'm basically just going to walk you through the essential layout for our course Blackboard page, but what I think that you're going to find is that it's all fairly straightforward. There's nothing too complicated here, so let's go ahead and get started. Once you have accessed the course Blackboard page, you're going to be brought here. And this is our course homepage, which you can also access simply by clicking its title in the left-hand pane. Now, what you're going to find, I think, is that there's not actually all that much content here on the homepage that you have to worry about. One thing you will find is that there are going to be some announcements that might appear here, but if there's anything important, that's also going to be forwarded to your student email, so you probably won't spend that much time on the homepage for the course. You will, however, begin the semester spending quite a bit of time looking at the content on the Start Here tab, which is, of course, required for your attention. So let's take a look at what can be found on the Start Here tab. The first and probably the most important thing on the Start Here tab is a simple Word document containing the course syllabus and a tentative schedule, which will break down exactly what is expected of you and exactly what you can expect from me on a week-to-week basis. Now, the syllabus is critically important. It is required reading, and I do want you to peruse it so that you can be perfectly familiar with things like our makeup policy, what types of assignments you are going to receive, how I am going to grade you, what my contact information is, so on and so forth. But I also want you to understand that I reserve the right to make changes to the syllabus or the associated schedule in order to facilitate the best possible learning experience for the students here in American Federal Government Online. Now, that being said, if I do make changes, I'll let you know. I'll go ahead and make an announcement telling you exactly what the changes are, what this means for you, and by and large, if I do make a change, it's usually to help you. I don't make changes to my course syllabus that I think are going to hurt the students or their performance in this class. So by and large, what you see in this course syllabus is going to prepare you for the worst case scenario in the semester as a whole. All right. In addition to the course syllabus, I've also included a folder called Additional Learning Resources. You don't have to open this folder. I would encourage you to do so, but everything in here is optional. These are a series of resources that I have compiled for your convenience, which I hope will better equip you to be a good democratic citizen. They'll provide you with places to get information about politics, places to get information about elections, and they'll also provide some content that I think will augment your learning experience in this class. Some of these resources, like the PBS Crash Course videos, are going to cover content that is also discussed in your lecture or in your textbook, so it's a really good way to refresh, reiterate, and build upon the basic required learning content for the class itself. Again, it's all totally optional, but I strongly encourage every single one of you to take some time to at least peruse some of the content that is listed here. The next folder you're going to find on the Start Here tab is the Textbook Resources folder. So at this point, most of you probably already know that we're using an electronic textbook for this course. What you might not know is that I don't actually have any control or ownership rights over that reading material. The textbook is going to be third-party content, and that means that if you're having problems with troubleshooting or technical difficulties, I can't help you. The technical support team at Southeastern Oklahoma State University cannot help you. If you're having problems with the textbook, the people you need to talk to are the technical support at the textbook's owners and publishers, and that's going to be Cengage. So if you need help troubleshooting or dealing with technical difficulties relating not necessarily to the Blackboard page, but to the actual electronic textbook, this is where you're going to go to begin accessing that support. All right, the next folder here on the Start Here tab is Southeastern's mandatory resources. If you feel that you need accommodations for any sort of university-recognized disability, well, first off, go ahead and let me know. Send me an email so that I can make sure that you get those accommodations. But also, you might want to pay some close attention to a lot of the content in this folder because it's going to explain things like how we handle those situations, okay? I do want to make sure that everyone who is entitled to accommodations gets those, but for example, one thing you'll find if you peruse these policies is that it is your responsibility to bring that disability to my attention and not the other way around. Okay, so everybody should take some time to peruse the content in Southeastern's mandatory resources if you haven't already done so. Again, this is required reading, so it could possibly appear on quizzes or even on an exam. The next item on the Start Here tab that I'll bring your attention to is a questions and answers discussion board forum. Now, if you're not familiar with Blackboard, discussion board is essentially a message board. It's a place where you can go to open threads and communicate with me as well as with other students. And this particular forum is just a place where you can publicly ask questions that I will then be able to answer or that other students will be able to provide feedback on. Now, I'll go ahead and tell you that I'm more responsive to contacts via email. So if you've got a time-sensitive question that needs me to answer, then the best way to get that answer is to go ahead and send me an email. That being said, if you have a question which is not necessarily time-sensitive or which you believe other students might be interested in discussing, well, feel free to post it here. I strongly encourage you to periodically check in on the questions and answers forum and communicate with other students. Share your insights with one another so that everybody's learning experience is going to be as good as it possibly can be. Returning to the Start Here tab, there will later on be an additional video in which I introduce myself to you so that you can put a face to this disembodied, nasally voice that I'm sure you're going to come to detest before the semester is over. But by and large, that's the important stuff that you need to pay attention to on the Start Here tab. Once you've perused all of this content, the next place that you're going to want to go, and the area where you're going to spend most of your time this semester, is going to be here, the Course Work tab, which again can be accessed simply by clicking its name on the left-hand pane on Blackboard. The Coursework tab will have a series of 8 folders, one for each week of the semester. And each folder will come complete with a description telling you exactly what you are expected to do and exactly what you can expect from me for that week. So if you look at the week 1 coursework folder, for example, you'll see that the first thing you need to do is complete reading A, which involves a 10-page excerpt from the first chapter of your textbook, the entire second chapter of your textbook, the course syllabus, and an additional really short article that summarizes the United States Constitution. Then, once you've completed that that reading content, you move into Lecture A, where I'll introduce you to some of the core concepts of governments in general and our constitutional government in particular. Once you've done that, you move on to the next step, Reading B, which is Chapter 3 from your textbook, and then you proceed into Lecture B, where I discuss the concept of federalism. After this, you've got a little bit more freedom. There are a couple of optional resources that are made available to you this week. There will be optional resources in other weeks, but as the name suggests, they are optional. You don't have to worry about them. They might help to augment your learning experience or make your life a little bit easier for the purposes of assessments, but by and large, those are there for your benefit. Take them or leave them. In this week, we do have an additional required reading, which is essentially going to be a documentary about the government's response to Hurricane Katrina. We won't always have this kind of content. So if you look at the content for week 2, for example, there is no additional required viewing content, although there is a required resource. With that being said, you will want to watch this documentary before you begin to complete the graded components of this week's coursework. So, the bottom line here is that for each week, you need to finish all of the reading and lecture material, as well as any additional required material, before you begin to work on the graded components. Now, one thing that you're going to notice is that for each week, your graded activities become available on Monday. Okay, they become available on Monday, and you have to have them completed by the end of the day on the corresponding Friday. Okay, so that means that you need to have completely finished and submitted your assessment, your discussion post, and your quiz no later than 11:59 on Friday. That's critically important, and the same general availability period is going to be maintained throughout the entire semester. So let's go ahead and open this folder and take a look at some of the content. Again, what you're going to find is that I have directly linked the reading material. You don't have to access your reading content through this link, so if you're having problems with it, just go ahead and access your textbook externally. That's totally fine. But for your convenience, I have also included links. If I were to click this, it would open up the first chapter of your textbook. Not all of the readings will come from your textbook. So, for example, this summary of the United States Constitution will itself be a separate article. You do need to access that here, but you can do so simply by clicking the blue hyperlinked text to download that PDF file. Then you'll read through that. And once you've completed this reading A material, then you can proceed to Lecture A, where, again, I'll introduce you to some general concepts of government and the United States Constitution. One thing I will briefly note before we get too far ahead of ourselves is that each week I will also include a simple Word document providing learning objectives for our lecture content that you can use to guide your note-taking process as you watch these videos, so that you know what the most important information actually is while you're listening. All right, so then once you're finished with that first set of reading and lecture material, then you move on to reading B, and from reading B, you move on to lecture B. And again, this is all fairly straightforward. After having completed that, the next thing that you're going to want to do is to watch the required viewing. I'll go ahead and tell you that this is a frontline documentary from PBS. It's really interesting. It's very entertaining. But more importantly, you're going to need it in order to complete the discussion post for this week. Now, you will have a discussion post assignment for every single week, and basically what that's going to do is give you an opportunity to investigate some of the lessons from our lecture and reading material while working with other students, okay? So by and large, what you'll find is that you'll have to make a post before you can see anyone else's posts. And in most cases, once you have made a post, you then need to respond in a meaningful way to what some other student has had to say. The idea here, again, is to give students an opportunity to share their insights with one another. So please do take this seriously. It is an important component of your grade, and you will not be able to receive full credit unless you both open your own thread, make your own post, and, where required, respond to another student. We'll also have our quizzes. Those are all going to be simple 12-minute multiple choice questions where you will have a series of questions that you need to answer, and you'll do so. And then you submit it before the time runs out, or it auto-submits incomplete. All right. Finally, we've got our assessments. These are going to vary from one week to the next. There will be instructions associated with each individual assessment, but if you're having problem accessing this content, simply click the name, right? So if we go back to the week 1 folder and you want to access assessment 1, you will simply click Assessment 1, the use of violence. Here you're going to see some additional information about the assessment, including an explanation of scoring and some instructions, but the most important thing that you'll find here is going to be this blue hyperlinked text. Click that link and it will download the Word document for this assignment. Then you open that Word document, and this is where you will actually complete the assessment. So your answers, your responses should be typed directly into this Word document. Once you're done, save the Word document, putting your surname in the title of the file, and then you will come and you will submit it by attaching it here. There are a couple of ways you can attach a file here. You can drag it into the dotted lines and let go, or you can click Browse Computer and then search through the files that you have on your computer, select the correct one, and once you've done that, click Submit. When you've submitted the assessment, I will get a notification telling me that it's complete, and then I can go ahead and give you a grade. Which brings me to the next important part of Blackboard. Now, I'm not going to open this because from the instructor view, I'll be able to see all of the other students. But if you come to Grade Center, this is where you're going to be able to keep up with your grades on each individual assignment throughout the semester. Okay, so if you're wanting to see how you're doing, how you're progressing, that's the place to go. Now, one thing you'll notice is that in here, some of these assessments and activities are going to be grayed out. That means that they are not currently available to you. They will become available on the appropriate Monday, okay? Same thing applies to our coursework folders. You'll notice that week 2 is currently grayed out. Now, hopefully that will not be the case by Friday of this week. I'm still waiting on some content from CIDT. I'd like to make some of this available, but if when you access the coursework tab, you don't see all of these folders, there is no need to panic. They will become available to you when the time is right. You'll also find that your exams are going to be in week 3, week 6, and week 8. The final exam is comprehensive, but the other 2 exams are not comprehensive. They only apply to a certain portion of the course, but that will be described in greater detail by your syllabus. So once again, I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this navigation video. I look forward to getting to know each and every last one of you throughout the course of the semester. Please have a nice day.